Arirang Special.
Soft power, or the use of diplomacy and shared interests to engender cooperation, is increasingly being favored over hard power. And it is deemed a more effective and efficient concept in contemporary global politics. And as the 21st century sets in, a radically different approach towards soft power is being called for, using connectivity and creativity. As we greet the fourth industrial revolution, how can Asian countries better enhance their soft powers in the era of Industry 4.0?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Anna Park, Ambassador for Public Diplomacy, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Republic of Korea. I would like to welcome all of you for today's session. Before I begin, let me introduce first to my left at the end, Mr. Sun-Uk Choi, a research fellow at the KBS Broadcasting Culture Research Institute. To his right, Ms. Artien Utomo from Indonesia, President of Rajawali TV, an Indonesian terrestrial network. And to her right is Mr. Ichiya Nakamura from Japan, professor at Gator University. And to my right, Professor Zhang Zhang from China, who is Deputy Dean of Institute for Cultural Creativity at the Tsinghua University. And to his right, Mr. Uyel Beck, who is a professor at Yonsei University. Then to his right, Mr. Barry Welsh from UK, who is also professor at Dongguk and the Ewha University. And finally, to his right is Ms. Sung-Hae Son, Director for Cultural Cooperation at Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Today's topic is about Asia soft power in the era of fourth industrial revolution. It's about how to face the fourth industrial revolution in terms of soft power. Since last year, Davos, we frequently hear about the fourth industrial revolution. It became very hot and quite dominant topic these days. We would like to focus on soft power, particularly in the new development of industrial revolution. And earlier in the past, technology advancement actually it guaranteed more profit in your business. However, now the fourth industrial revolution started. Then technological advancement, it doesn't guarantee profit as before. We need a totally different approach, not a single adjustment, but a whole new concept in our business. So we may need a whole, a totally different concept of soft power in the new era. Basically, it seems to me there are two standards which represent the fourth industrial revolution. The first one is connectivity, and the second one is creativity. So connectivity links many things through imagination and ideas, not only through internet. Internet on things it's a very good example to connect different things and make our life very convenient. Through virtual reality, you can be connected to any place which you dreamed of without going there. So connectivity between things, connectivity between you and things, connectivity between you and nature. That's it's happening in our new era of fourth industrial revolution. And the second aspect is creativity. New business actually comes out creativity. Against this backdrop, I hope today we will enhance our understanding on how the fourth industrial revolution will influence and will interact, and how it might be connected to the Asia's future soft power. So new era of industrial revolution will provide us new opportunities. So I hope in this session, our excellent panelists will share their opinions and the comments on the way how to enhance Asia's soft power in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. So I'd like to invite panelists to make comments.
Before joining the academic field, I was a member of the government of Japan as an IT and culture policymaker. And I'm still working for the government of Japan as a chairman of the intellectual property headquarters that makes Japanese policy for content and IT strategy. Then, in the beginning, I'd like to talk mainly about the policy of Japan, especially on pop culture and technology. Well, there are many models that countries tie their culture into their policies. For example, in France, the government has worked to promote high-class art culture, and by doing so, increase the value of the country's brand, its government and high culture model. And in America, private business sectors such as Hollywood have been central in the exportation of their entertainment industry, its private industry model. And in Korea, the government has nurtured a pop culture industry such as games and music and so on. It's a government and pop industry model. And the Japanese government recognized the value of culture and started its Cool Japan policy about 10 years ago. The pop culture of Japan's anime, game, as well as its food, it became popular abroad without support by the government. In many countries in the world, events are held for Japanese pop culture enthusiasts, so-called otaku. And it is said that each year, totally 20 million people go to them. And the government started to invest risk money into this culture and industry and take significant action to combat pirating. In this system, the private sectors, the primary sectors, actors in promoting their culture abroad, and the government supports them. It's private pop culture model, a model that differs from America, France, and Korea. And the government is also working in the long term to nurture creativity that you mentioned and expressive ability in the education system. And now 8 government offices are working on this policy under the wing in the under the intellectual property headquarters that I serve as the chairman. And in the background of this, I think there are 2 points. The first one is that Japan lost the World War II, Second World War II, and finished to be a military nation to become an industrial nation. But in the last 20 years, it has stumbled economically. And instead, its pop culture grows more popular abroad, and culture becomes more of a focus. In the past, Japanese image was dominated by Toyota, Honda, and Sony. But now, the major image has changed to Pokemon, Pikachu, Dragon Ball, and Sailor Moon. The next one is that while the population has aged and the domestic market has shrunk, in the past 20 years, society has become more dominated by IT, information technology, and people have come to anticipate the benefits of disseminating Japanese culture abroad by using information technology. Now, I believe that it is possible for Japanese companies to compete with other Asian companies, but also cooperate to broaden the Asian market abroad together as well. The fourth industrial revolution may be probably a crisis as well as a chance and opportunity for Asian countries, all of the countries. I hope that using new technology, we can cooperate to form a strategy to increase our soft power throughout the world.
Thank you very much, Professor Nakamura, for your comparison on how to promote the soft power according to each country, United States, France, Korea, and Japan, and also your explanation on Japanese government's effort to increase soft power and as well as to nourish creativity. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. May I invite Ms. Utomo for your comments?
Thank you for the opportunity. Very happy to be here. Coming from Indonesia. This is a country of the 254 million people, the fourth largest population in the world, with the GNP per capita at 3,500. We have 1.9 million square meters of land, and average age is 28 years old. 50% of the population is under 30 years old. So it's quite a young millennials populations. However, because we have 17,000 islands, so connections is not yet across the country. Okay, big cities, we have connections, but not very reliable. However, this doesn't stop the youngs to actually come out with projects that now becomes very successful. One that need to be mentioned is Gojek. Gojek is a motorcycle taxi. Jakarta, we have 20 million populations. Traffic jam is so bad that it can take hours to actually reach out to the city center. Gojek is very successful. It derived from a very simple idea. This is to take people from one place to another by bicycle. So it's like motorcycle taxi actually. And then they further becomes, they also send goods. So they have GoSend. You have Gojek and then GoSend, whereby you can actually send parcels through their service. Now this become very big. I don't remember the number of the investment, but what I understand, SoftBank is already invested into this company. So even though connection is still not there yet across the country, but the youngsters are very creative. But Indonesia is still, well, it's there, but it's not yet in a big way. I mean, there's no money going on into this industry. But the youngsters, they keep coming up with a lot of ideas. In fact, the venture capital funds, we have so many venture capital funds that looking for digital-based companies to be invested in. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Utomo. We quite envy Indonesia. I mean, you are quite a young millennial population country. but Korea, Japan, we are very much aging society. But it's also, I mean, you explained about how to tackle the traffic, the connection problems. Indonesia is a huge country composed of, thousands of islands. So it's, you are using new IT technologies to solve the problems. And now, can I invite Mr. Choi?
Today, I would like to briefly discuss about 3 points for fourth industrial revolution and the soft powers. Previous industrial revolutions had the light side and the dark side. But I'm an optimist. So I think that the fourth industrial revolution could contribute to increase the availability of assets of the soft power, such as national cultures, education, transportation, like the Indonesia, and governance. And the affection of the fourth industrial revolution would grow up more soft power based on digital medias. Especially, in my opinion, the border caused by different language between the countries would be quickly blurring than we expect. There are above 7,000 languages in the world. The language was a big obstacle for the people's direct interaction. But several global startup companies like Bragi, a German company, they already developed the solutions. Just to put on the translator on inside the ears, we can just speak my own language. They can understand what they're saying. Yes. The important thing between the fourth industrial revolution and soft power is have uncommon agenda that Asian countries agree all together, I think. It could naturally collaborate with other Asian countries and use the new technology to achieve the goal if we share a common agenda. For example, it could be peace, like the purpose of these forums, or the global warming, the Al Gore mentioned yesterday here. Definitely, we don't know where the fourth industrial revolution will lead us, but change is inevitable. It's the only constant in our life. So I think that we try to look at big pictures. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very comprehensive comments. After hearing your presentation, I'm a little thrilled to enter the unknown world, which is the fourth industrial revolution. And it's very interesting also to hear your view on the impact on soft power. So thank you very much for your comment. And then I'd like to invite Professor Zhang, Tsinghua University professor.
Thank you. I'm honored to have this opportunity to share with you some of my findings and my opinions on soft power. And actually, I have a theme of I have a topic towards the cultural and the digital future of Asia. Because I think at first we should break the meaning of the theme of this session, the soft power under the background of the fourth industrial revolution. I think there are two keywords, soft power and fourth industrial revolution. So what is the key attributes of the fourth industrial revolution? I think high tech, especially the information technology, are not the whole part of the industrial revolution. I think it is different between the previous three ones. The first industrial revolution is driven by the widely use of steam engines. And the second one is electric machines. And the third one is computing and the networked machines. And the obvious sign of the fourth industrial revolution is the integration of several fundamental but radical technologies. Now, such as VR, and some guests have mentioned, and quantum computing, and AI, and the digital currency like Bitcoin, and neuroscience, biological tech, and the new energy and the new material. So ultimately, it is the competition on countries' industrial system, on the innovation and the creativity, competence, and the talents. Culture is in the centerpiece of the soft power. To build or improve the soft power of a country is to make the country's ideology, developmental path, and culture accepted to other countries, and to improve the discourse power and the cultural capacity of a country. As the second big economy in the world, developing cultural and creative industries, telling good Chinese stories and delivering Chinese voices is one of the many ways to improve the soft power of China. The Chinese people have the traditional conception of harmony, but not sameness. So I believe that soft power comes from the cultural confidence. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your comment. And then I'd like to invite Professor Will back.
Okay, thank you for having me here. I'm from Policy Department in Yonsei University. How to enhance Asia's soft power? I think this is one of the primary subject in this Jeju forum this year. I've been working on interaction between hard power and soft power last several years. At the same time, I think then I need to move on to study the interactions between power and technology more in terms of soft power. The first layer is, of course, in politics, international politics, is hard power and soft power. But second layer is more likely on soft power and technology. Especially, many people actually hesitated to define the fourth industrial revolution right now, but I think it's coming. It's already there. Ambassador Park is explained about those the technological advance last couple of years or last several years in artificial intelligence and big data, and then mostly SNS, social network service. I think it's a revolution, real revolution. We have another tool, just like Professor Zhang said. It's a steam engine, or we have computer. Now we have AI, and then SNS. It means each country and each state is opened, more open than ever than before. And then it means that we need to have some sort of interactive, two-way, not one-way, two-way interaction among countries. And the countries, of course, government officials like Ambassador Park and then Director Sun, but also ordinary citizens too. That means we need to improve this soft power via advanced technology, and then it must be two ways, not one ways. So I think that it's more can be defined as. So I propose that the idea of ecological system of the public diplomacy. Public diplomacy is supposed to be more ecological rather than artificial. Of course, we are using a lot of artificial intelligence, but we really need to ecological system of the public diplomacy. By the ecological system of the public diplomacy, I mean that it can be more cooperative and interacting rather than competitive and conflicting. Helping each other's public diplomacy, it's very, very important, but it's at the same time, it's not just for the positive images, but also for negative images too. We cannot hide anymore negative aspects of our society and state in this era of post-industrial revolution and SNS and AI and big data. If you Google, if you Baidu, you can find all those information about the reality in each country, including South Korea. Of course, North Korea is a little bit of exception, though. Right. So what I mean is public diplomacy needs to be more comprehensive, to show countries' positive as well as negative aspects. So many people, many countries actually have misunderstanding each other. In particular, the relationship between Japan and South Korea and Japan. And then we are actually suffering from the historical issue. But that, I've been working on this issue for a while, and then Japanese government officials, scholars, and then students, and then ordinary citizens, as well as South Korean counterparts, do not understand each other's understanding or ideas on historical issue too. So meaning that we need to open up via this SNS and then force industrial revolution technology, and then form some sort of ecological system of public diplomacy right now. That means it can go beyond Northeast Asia. We talked about East Asian public diplomacy and soft power, and enhancing soft power as a whole, not just South Korean soft power, but also Japanese, Chinese, and Indonesian, and then Myanmarese and Indian, possibly African countries. That means we can formulate the ecological system of public diplomacy to enhance everybody's soft power. Okay, one more time, let me emphasize the more comprehensive understanding of the soft power, negative as well as positive. Thank you.
Well, Professor Park actually raised a very interesting point. I didn't even imagine that the negative images also could be an asset for soft power. We need a further discussion on that. And Professor Welsh?
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm afraid that I think a lot of what I'm going to say probably repeats what some of our other very fascinating speakers have already said, so I apologize if it's a little repetitive or covers ground that we've already talked about. Before I talk about that, I'd like to tell you a little experience I had this year. So this year, I bought a Samsung phone. It was the first time in my life that I'd bought a Korean smartphone. And one of the small innovations that this phone has that I like the most is this little button on the back, this little sensor here. It's a fingerprint sensor. So whenever I want to turn my phone on, I just put my finger on the sensor here, and my phone comes on. And this for me, this sort of combination of the physical, the digital, and the biological, this is a microcosm for the fourth industrial revolution as a whole. I think this kind of indicates a direction that a lot of technology is going to be going in the future. Now, since that term first gained widespread attention at the World Economic Forum in January 2016, the fourth industrial revolution has become a buzzword all around the world. It's why we're here today. And many people believe that the world is rapidly approaching a technological revolution that will bring with it seismic and, as we've already said, unprecedented changes, very vast changes. So the way that we live, everybody across the world lives, works, plays, the way that we connect to one another will be fundamentally altered drastically within the next 20 years. Now, no one is certain how these changes will happen or who will be affected the most, but one thing that we can agree on is that many people will benefit whilst many others will lose out. Now, alongside these new developments are all of these new technologies which we've mentioned, and a lot of them blur the boundaries between the physical, the digital, and the biological. And they have the potential to affect every industry in every country. Klaus Schwab wrote that 47% of American jobs will likely be severely affected by these changes within the next 20 years, right, within our lifetimes. And the scale of this change, it's so vast that entire modes of production, systems of governance could be completely changed within the next 20 years. And we can already see the signs of this around us in the form of artificial intelligence, self-driving cars, drones, robotics, nanotechnology, neurotechnology, and biotechnology, as well as 3D printing. And if we think about these technologies, when they're coupled with a world population connected by mobile devices that have these incredible processing capabilities, I mean, we all essentially have miniature supercomputers in our pockets at the moment, then we get some idea of the scale of the change that we're going to be facing. Now, the past couple of years, we've seen lots of countries around the world, in Asia, everywhere, kind of scrambling to come to terms with what these changes are going to mean. So we've had groups and think tanks that have been established to try and understand what this new world will look like. So who's going to prosper and who's going to suffer? And like we've already mentioned, the fourth industrial revolution has the potential to improve the quality of life for vast swathes of people all over the world. And no one wants to lose out, obviously. Now, in terms of Asian soft power, this new paradigm seems to offer many new possibilities, and governments in the region have, again, as we've heard today, they've been very eager to embrace these coming changes. Now, among Asian countries, the term is perhaps most eagerly embraced by South Korea. Perhaps I'm a little biased, having lived here for the best part of a decade. But last year, South Korea had a ringside seat to a symbolic event in the Fourth Industrial Revolution when the expert Go player Lee Se-dol played a Go tournament against AlphaGo. AlphaGo is an AI algorithm created by Google DeepMind. And many people were shocked when the human player lost, and this AI beat the Google player. I remember my students talking about it. They were very gripped by this thing that had happened. But I think that brought home the idea that the Fourth Industrial Revolution is real, and it's here, and it's happening right now. And even the new president, when he was a presidential hopeful, Moon Jae-in promised that he would install a Fourth Industrial Revolution committee directly under the office of the president. I think that shows just how seriously that the country's been taking it. And South Korea, I think, is thinking of the Fourth Industrial Revolution as a vital part of the country's economic growth development strategy. And in December 2015, the government began to roll out a strategy designed to cope with these new sort of industrial transformations. And the goal of the plan is to boost the local economy by securing intelligence information technologies that characterize the Fourth Industrial Revolution. So the South Korean Ministry of Science believes that cutting-edge technologies like the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence have the potential to generate billions of dollars for the local economy. Now, not everybody agrees. Not everybody agrees that the Korean government's strategy is the best strategy. But nevertheless, the thing that we can be sure of is that huge changes are coming. I'd just like to give you a couple of very quick examples. So, for example, 64% of experts in a recent poll think that with the first smart city with over 50,000 inhabitants, with no traffic lights, that we'll see that within the next 20 years. 90% of the world's population will have smartphones, and we've mentioned Internet of Things several times. But within the next 20 years, there will be over 1 trillion sensors, 1 trillion sensors connected to the Internet, which is remarkable, really, if you think about it. And I think in terms of soft power, I think that the most powerful soft power message that the region, that South Korea, that even specifically Jeju could give to the rest of the world, I think the strongest message is that we're one of the most cutting-edge technological societies in the world, and we can lead the world and show the world how to integrate Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies into society. Like lots of the speakers have said, the thing that we need is guidance, right, on how to implement Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies. And I think the biggest soft power message, or maybe the best soft power message that the region can develop, is that just the guidance of showing how well we can integrate these things and sort of be a role model in how to use those technologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your presentation was quite informative. What kind of change we are now experiencing and what we can expect in the near future. So it's very interesting comment. And Ms. Sun, the final panelist.
I am Seung-hae Sun from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Currently, I am in charge of the cultural cooperation. So my talk starts from my job. And so I thought what I could do in the near future. So the fourth industrial revolution means digital technology are in our hands. Soft power means attraction. Attraction connects people to people. And then the last one is Asia. Asia shares a long history of culture. So just my start what the government sector can do for the near future and to connect people to people and through the attraction of culture kind of for the people. So just I would like to just propose one of my idea is e-culture diplomacy and hyper connecting Asia and from complexity to efficiency. I would like to propose e-culture of hyper-connecting Asia toward the fourth industrial revolution era. With the support of cultural diplomacy and industrial policy, the crowd-sourced project of Asia will combine Asian art and cultural heritage mapping and tourism and education with visual and textual big database. It will provide all users more efficiently and more reliably with research and commercial resource based on the digital technology, including AI. I propose that the diplomatic policies of government in Asia should explore a new direction. More discussion about cooperative project needs to progress for the better future with an IoT network. As a first step, cultural diplomacy in Asia needs to take initiative to organize e-culture virtual community for combining mapping and graphics as well as text in order to present data of cultural heritage and art. And it will challenge to conceive three strategies. Firstly, it shares visual and textual data of cultural heritage mapping from integrated disciplines visually through internet. Secondly, it compasses the many historical sites and cultural information of Asia for tourism. Thirdly, it contributes to educate the next generation with internet open class and to encourage artists to transform the visual data and create new things through e-platform. The three missions of project are to continuously expand the scope of e-platform and to encompass the database of many Asian regions and cultures, while developing both for the public use and for commercial profits. Participating artists to ask to recreate their data in an innovative fashion. Supported by cultural diplomacy and sharing economy in the project, Asian countries can hyper connect people to people beyond boundaries to share both local and international and database with e-platform of Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sun, and your suggestion to expand the e-platform. It's a very interesting idea, and it needs, some cooperation of various actors, not only government but also other sectors to implement this e-platform grand idea. But it stimulates our thoughts what we can do. To increase soft power as a whole in Asia. Thank you very much, panelists, for your very valuable comments. We talk about the soft power, and Mr. Zhang, he mentioned that the center of soft power is it's culture, and soft power, and it seems to me it has many. It should have more than just culture. So cultural dissemination is one way to increase your soft power, but there are other, important ways to increase your soft power. So I'd like to hear your views. What are the major assets of soft power? That's the first question. And the second one could be, what is the government role? So these are two questions I'd like to raise each of panelists.
Assets for enhancing soft power. Well, I think it's the truth. Show the realities of each country and each society. One more time, the reason why I brought up the issue of sharing positive as well as negative images and brands in each country is if you try to show those sparkling, bright, and positive images to the others, and they are not full, to be faked, by this type of thing. It is, of course, one more time, it worked. Probably, first and second and third industrial revolution period, but not anymore. Fourth industrial revolution, one more time, it is extremely interactive, hyper connected, and it is more and more involved. So meaning that you show what you have and what you are as it is. I think that's the way to improve your chance to have more assets and to enhance soft power. Of course, it depends on the political system, and especially political system. More open society, have some more confidence to share your images, whether it is positive or negative. But I think it's a two-way forward. It is, we gotta do some more truth-based public diplomacy, and to enhance our soft power.
And each country, each community must have its own soft power, and we cannot decide this is your soft power. But important thing I think should be to find what you have, and what is your to find what is your soft power, and promote them with new technology. And the what is required to the government is it's a very difficult question. For example, the government of Japan is now taking effort to promote new technologies such as IoT, AI, robotics, and so on. At the same time, the government is taking effort to support new culture like pop culture domestically. But I think the more important thing is to connect all the people, not only government agencies but also private sectors, to other countries' people like this. I think to hold this kind of chance to communicate with each other should be set up by the government like here for connectivity and creativity, because Asia is so full of variety. We cannot unite it easily, but to take effort to connect each other and create something new should be important role for each government in Asia, I think.
Thank you very much. My thoughts on my own two questions are like this. Soft power, of course, culture is quite an important asset of soft power, and it will continue to be. In my opinion, in the era of fourth industrial revolution, your contribution to the world, your contribution to lead intellectual debate, and your lead in shaping new regime to help to deal with the newly emerged issues like cybersecurity and cyber attack. and those kind of things, we don't have any regime to deal with, international regime, and climate change is also a serious problem we are facing. So in the forthcoming fourth industrial revolution, your contribution to solve those global problems will be great asset of your soft power. That's one of my comments to make. And with respect to the role of government, government is not actually the producer of soft power. And government is service provider, government is a planner, and government is actually facilitator, I think. And Korean pop culture is very, important asset for our soft power. But pop culture is not the product of our government, and it's a product of our civilian artists. And so we do some registrations and some institutional arrangement. Then we empower people actually to increase to their creativity, right? So that's my comments. Now it's time for the audience. So you're first, then young man in the middle.
So as we go into this fourth industrial revolution and we talk about soft power, I think we really need to have much fuller consideration of employment opportunities or some kind of extended welfare, whatever is practical. So I'd be curious to get people's thoughts about this idea or concern.
It's a very important aspect. We have to actually deal with the sense of urgency. We have to prevent that dark scenario will actually it's before it's being realized. Any response from the panelists? Yes, and Professor Welsh.
Just some of the concerns that you raise are obviously concerns that lots of people who write about this and spend their life researching and looking into have raised before. So Klaus Schwab and Alec Ross and lots of these other people who've been very involved in the direction of the fourth industrial revolution have raised these issues. This idea that the technology is expanding so quickly and that where it's exponential as opposed to linear, so that what's happening is people aren't being upskilled in lots of places to keep up with the new developments in technology, and that there simply isn't the same equivalent job creation that happened, like you mentioned, in previous industrial revolutions, and perhaps that's not going to happen. In 20 years from now, we might be talking about a completely different set of issues, where this idea that you have a job, and that's the job that you're going to have some type of job for life, that might not be a reality in maybe 2 or 3 generations. I mean, it just might not be the same, and that's a huge concern. That's why I think that so many people here have said today that one of the biggest problems for the fourth industrial revolution is to have some kind of consensus or guidance on the direction it's going, and how to deal with absorbing those things into society. I mean, some people have suggested solutions for this idea that there might just not be enough jobs for people, like the universal basic income. Which might be one potential solution to that. And again, like some people say, we should be optimistic and look at these things optimistically. Maybe that idea that there might be lots of, you might not need to have a job. There might be huge swathes of the population that don't need to have a job or think about a career in the same way. Maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing if there's some other way of supporting those people, right, who don't have an income. Lots of people, like Alec Ross writes in his book, that in some of the poorest places in the world, there's been a huge, like in the Congo, he talks about like mobile phones have become very popular in the Congo, and that's and he was shocked when he went there to see that lots of people in the poorest regions in the world had mobile phones, but mobile phones made a very big difference to their ability to get paid and to transfer money to one another. So in different places, you're going to see different effects. And I guess at this point, nobody knows, right? But I think everybody recognizes that that's a huge issue, and people need to do something about it, right?
And young.
As we know, every action has both bright and the gloomy side. And personally, I think that the dark side of this fourth industrial revolution is job losses. And as my Korean panelists might know, KeyBank was founded recently, and some Korean banks are considering to fire majority of its employees as they think the computers can replace their jobs. And this is not the upcoming problem that we have. It's the problem that we face currently. And even the founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates, he's even worried about tremendous job losses due to the advancement of the fourth industrial revolution. And jobs related to first, second, and even third industries are getting risk takes will be dominated by the robots. And this pushes human laborers out of the job market. And some argues that we should implement the idea of robot tax, where the government collects tax from AI or robots. And what do you think that the solution be to solve the social problems resulting from the fourth industrial revolution? Should it be done in the government level, or should it be done at the civilian level, where the companies actually take action instead of the governments?
Okay. So who will answer?
Well, these two questions is not directly related to this session, to be honest with you. We are talking about enhancing soft power by post-industrial revolution. But again, Professor Welsh actually answered your question already. We do not know the consequences of the post-industrial revolution right now. Okay, and might be it's gonna be very gloomy, dark future, or now. But at the same time, we actually went through the Luddite movement, when you remember. First industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, a lot of people worried about job losses and unemployment due to the technological advancement. But, we got through. So I think, we got to find. We means that not only just South Korean, but also Asian or world citizens or government actually try to figure it out how to accommodate or adjust ourselves to the new technology. All right? I think that's the way to go. We actually thought about more established and entrenched ideas about, yes, it's going to be ruin our job opportunities. Yes, that's certainly possible. But if we stay there, then there is no future, right?
Thank you very much for the panelists and the audience for your very much constructive engagement in discussing a very important, interesting topic. As I said, we are now entering to unknown world, and we are already, in the unknown world, and the speed of change is unprecedented. And the lifetime learning was optional, but now lifetime learning is a necessity. So we have to adjust to the changing world. So we should be prepared. Okay, thank you very much.